Production funding for After Abbey on WPSU comes from Camparella Furniture, serving the area with furniture, flooring, and home decorating ideas for more than 60 years. With locations in Bellefonte and Lewistown. Information at camparella.com. And from viewers like you. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to After Abbey, the live post-Downton Abbey interactive talk show where we invite you to discuss all things Downton with us. Hi, I'm Whitney Sheridan along with my fellow producers and Masterpiece fans, Jessica Peters and Lindsay Whistle. Tonight, we'll be looking forward to your phone calls, your emails, tweets, and Facebook posts. We've also got a special guest joining us in a little bit to talk about the music of Downton Abbey. We'll be opening the phone lines in a few moments. You can always email afterabby@wpsu.org or tweet a question to @AfterAbbey to join the conversation. Jessica's going to be checking the Twitter all evening. We welcome your correspondence. But first, everyone, so much has happened here on Season 3. We're now in Episode 2, and so exciting because Mary and Matthew are now married. But Lindsay, what's going on with that?
I'm not sure. We missed the wedding, we missed the honeymoon. You have all this great build, and then, well, it is Downton time. We've established Downton time. There's always large gaps, but yeah, I'm not sure. We got a little gypped on that one.
Yeah, we've invested 2 whole seasons in this, and we got a walk down the aisle, and then suddenly it's a month later, and we didn't even get to have a bite of cake. So
you know, we got a Bates and a honeymoon. I was really hoping we would get some Matthew Mary.
I know, so much romance there, but Matthew and Mary, it's like, bam, we invested 2 seasons of this build-up, and then all of a sudden it's like,
well,
okay.
Speaking of build-up without a payoff, that's another wedding. Poor Edith. I think that's been the mantra so far this season. She has that great moment where she says, finally, all these preparations in the house are happening about me. And then we all saw what happens, and the veil goes flying, and oh, poor Edith.
Tragic.
It was so sad because she was so excited, and you know, you feel that she definitely has that middle child thing going on, you know, where she isn't getting her due. She doesn't feel.
You might as well say like Marsha, Marsha, Marsha.
I know.
Although she did have that nice moment with Mary where I felt like they had that nice candid discussion about their relationship, and you know, maybe it'll never be perfect, but they can at least share these.
Their sisters,
well, what turned
their
out
family.
to be not good times.
Yeah.
Right. What's going on with Mr. Bates?
Oh, Mr. Bates. Mr. Bates is still in prison, in case anybody wasn't aware by the gray dreariness and the music that you hear at that point in time. But Mr. Bates is still in prison. He's being set up, but thankfully he has somebody looking out for him there in the prison. And Anna is trying to get him out, and she's doing everything that she can, Sherlock Anna. So we're pulling for them. They're such a great couple, and we want to see free Bates. We want to see that happen.
We do.
And she just never doubts him. That's what their moments together.
That's what I love. The one thing that the plot line that I'm really watching is this former Thick as Thieves, who the haters that we just love to hate, O'Brien and Thomas. They used to be so buddy-buddy, and now all of a sudden they've just turned on each other, and it's so great to watch because I want to see what comes next. So that's another one that we're eager to see what happens.
I think it's kind of terrible to watch. I'm waiting to see who poor Mosley's already been collateral damage, and you just know they're so vicious that the 2 of them turn on each other. It's going to be trouble for anybody caught in the crossfire.
But the one positive is the angrier O'Brien gets, the curlier her bangs get. So they're going to be sticking straight up in the air.
I am waiting to
by
see
the end
if
of the season
Thomas hides her curling iron, because I think that could be a major stab at O'Brien.
That would be. So with Edith, I mean, will she ever find love?
I'm not sure. I think she did have that fling with that married man in back, season 1 or 2 when she learned to drive the truck, but
I know, and you know, and she even says she's the spinster. She'll just go downstairs and have breakfast. She's the spinster, and it's like, oh, come on, Edith, I'm pulling for you.
She seems pretty resigned to that role. Maybe it is the middle child thing again, but
so it has been kind of a rough week, but we did have a very great thing happen at the end of the episode, and that is to know that Mrs. Hughes is cancer-free. It was great news. You know, Mrs. Hughes has been such a good person to watch. We haven't heard a lot from her in the past 2 seasons, and I'm really glad that she has a moment now and that it's good news. And, you know, 2 things came out of that. The first is Carson seemed a little too excited that Mrs. Hughes was okay. It was kind of like, you know, we're all happy, but Carson was really happy. So is it more than friendship? And we have Mrs. Patmore and that relationship there. I mean, one of the best moments of the show for me was at the very end when Mrs. Patmore and Mrs. Hughes are standing there waiting to go into the doctor's office, and it's just music, and it's just them standing there. And I thought it was a great moment between these two friends.
I liked the moment, too, with Cora and Mrs. Hughes. I thought that was really sweet when she told her no matter what, she had a home and she'd be taken care of.
Well, you know, not only is it episode 2 of Downton Tonight, which is a cause for celebration for us any Sunday night, but it also happens to be the 70th annual Golden Globes tonight, and Downton Abbey is up for multiple awards, multiple categories once again. So including Best TV Drama, Dame Maggie Smith is up for Best Supporting Actress in a TV Drama, and Michelle Dockery is up for Best Actress in a TV Drama as well. So Jessica, tell us, where do we stand?
So I have good news and bad news, ladies. Okay, so the good news is that Maggie Smith did win for Best Supporting Actress in a TV Drama. Yay! But we lost in the other 2 categories. But Maggie Smith did win for Best Supporting Actress in a TV Drama. The Dowager is very pleased.
That's great. And do we have any shots from that?
I think we do. We have one picture of the lovely Lady Mary, otherwise known as Michelle Dockery, on the red carpet in her beautiful dress, looking gorgeous, not just at Downton, but in real life as well.
And so if you are joining us this evening, we'd love to hear from you. We've actually heard from a couple of folks so far this evening. Justin Meyer says, will Daisy have a new fling with the new footman, thinking she will be the aggressor? Yay, women's suffrage, which we've been hearing about, the women's suffrage movement. And he also said he hates that Edith gets kind of the bad end of things, while Mary seems to skittle through life. The injustice will keep me watching, but it's just wrong. And Heather Joy actually wants to know, will there be a season 4? And I think it has been confirmed that there will be a season 4. So Downton fans, rejoice.
Rejoice.
So if you want to join us, you can join in the conversation this evening by tweeting to @AfterAbbey. Make that hashtag #AfterAbbey. You can also join us on Facebook. That's facebook.com/AfterAbbeyTV. We'd love to hear from you this evening.
That's right. And that brings us to our next segment. One thing that we've learned watching 2 seasons of Downton, and now we're coming into the 3rd, is never share secrets around an open doorway or where someone could be lurking around a corner. Which brings us to Entry Intrigue. This week's Entry Intrigue comes courtesy of the fair Mrs. Hughes and Mr. Carson. Let's take a look.
Dashing away with a smoothing iron, dashing away with a smoothing iron, dashing away with a smoothing iron, she stole my heart away.
Joining us now is Vincent Benitez, Associate Professor of Music Theory at Penn State. Vincent is also a self-proclaimed Downton fanatic. Thank you so much for being with us tonight, Vincent.
I'm delighted to be here. Yes, I am a Downton Abbey fanatic. I love the drama, the story, and the music very much.
And the music that we just heard in that clip was, you know, just Mr. Carson singing, but still we thought it was an appropriate way to bring you on set tonight.
Yes, probably Carson is singing something in the tradition of the British music hall, which is the British counterpart to American vaudeville. And so there is a distinction, I think, between the more popular tastes for people in Britain and then the higher class taste, so to speak, for the nobility and what they consider as good music. So it's a great time, this Edwardian period. And I know the series begins in 1912, and then musically on the continent, there's lots of great stuff going on. There's a big change in music, and I know that the series also exemplifies a change in society, too. In 1912, you have the great composer Arnold Schoenberg and his piece Pierrot Lunaire, which is very cutting edge as far as music is concerned. And then the next year, you have Stravinsky's Rite of Spring. And so I know that they will, the series incorporates popular songs from that time period, and with the advent of World War I, and now we're in 1920, we're at the advent of the jazz age.
So much more to come.
Much more to come.
Much more
That's right.
fun. Maybe a foxtrot or two.
The foxtrot. Well, I like how they used in Series 2, if you were the only girl in the world and I were the only boy, which dates from 1916, which is from the British musical The Bing Boys Are Here. And I think I've read that a lot of British soldiers from World War I saw that before they went off into the front. And so it's a popular song, and Rudy Valley did a version of it in 1929, and even Doris Day and Gordon McCrae did it on the film from 1953 on Moonlight Bay, which was a sequel to By the Light of the Silvery Moon.
Wow.
Then even Barbra Streisand did a version of it in 1965.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm curious about the instruments, and especially with the introduction of the phonograph coming, how is that going to change things up for our characters, both upstairs and downstairs?
Well, they'll get exposure to lots of music that they ordinarily wouldn't get. I mean, you have to remember at this time, no TV, no internet, and oftentimes the family would gather around a piano and somebody would play. And then especially Mary, Edith, and Sybil, I mean, if they're looking for husbands, and then one of the things that they want to do is to be able to show that they have musical ability, they can speak French or German, and that they're literate and they can carry on good conversations. So with the advent of the phonograph, that's going to change lots of stuff. Then they can hear a lot of music from America, especially blues and jazz, and this will change things definitely. So.
And we actually have a Facebook question for you.
Okay.
How influential was music from America at this time?
Well, I think the popular taste, I think probably, you know, coming from America is ragtime, and then the beginnings of jazz, and then the blues. But still, things are very, let's say, pro-Europe, that Europe is the center of culture. And then I think you see this with the Dowager Countess, as she, you know, says, I don't want to go to America, and I have no interest, but then she has to temper her language in front of Cora's mother, so.
Those pesky Americans.
Right.
We've talked about the music of the period. I'm curious about your thoughts about the music from the show. I mean, we certainly have these established themes where you just hear a few notes and you kind of know whose story we're going to be going into. And what do you think of how the composer has used music to emphasize the plot line?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. That's great. John Lund is the composer, and he's written the music so that it's more of a film score rather than music for a television show. So he doesn't have anything sampled or pre-recorded or artificially produced. It's all played by live musicians. And what he wants to do is, he's said in interviews that he wants to, he uses a 35-member string orchestra with an occasional piano or an instrument like the French horn. And he says that the string music sits well underneath the dialogue. And so it really enhances the dramatic situations. It doesn't overwhelm it. And he was told when he was going to compose music, and the producer said, we don't want music from that era, that we want something more modern. So he has come up with something modern. If I know your viewers will know the theme that opens the show and closes the show. That's very, Lund has said himself that that's influenced by the classical composer Philip Glass. He's known as a minimalist. And what does that mean? It's just very repetitive rhythms, very simple chordal vocabulary. You get this very hypnotic effect. And then he created that music to describe John Bates at the beginning of season 1 coming to Downton Abbey. And the repetitive rhythms capture the train, and then you have this theme that captures John Bates' forlorn feelings, and then you have a rising theme that will represent Downton Abbey. So I think it's a stroke of genius. So, but Philip Glass is an interesting sort of fellow. He is Juilliard educated, and he studied with Nadia Boulanger, who was a great teacher of American composers in the 20th century. And then Philip Glass also worked with Ravi Shankar, the great Indian classical musician, who recently passed away. And so you have this sort of long stretches of one chord and gives you this really hypnotic effect, which I think is the very attractive part of the show.
Well, I think we definitely want you to stick
Sure.
around and listen to some of the calls and stuff,
Okay.
and Facebook posts and tweets. I know that Jessica's checking over there. She's getting
We have
a
been getting
lot of
a
them.
lot of people.
But we want to bring our audience into the conversation as
Sure.
well. And we know you're a Downton fanatic, so we want you to sit tight with us. So if you're just joining us, this is After Abbey, the live post-Downton Abbey interactive talk show, and we invite your correspondence. You can call us at 1-800-543-8242. You can also email your questions and comments to afterabby@wpsu.org. Tweet to @afterabby. Jessica's checking it over here. Or send us a note on Facebook. Our fan page is facebook.com/afterabbytv. So to get things going, what we want to talk about is who had a better week this week, upstairs or downstairs.
A lot
know.
happened this week.
A lot happened. Vincent, who do you think is having a better week, upstairs or downstairs?
I think downstairs, Edith did not have a good week.
No, she did not have a good week.
Poor Edith.
Yeah, yeah. It's. I know that there have been 2 weddings. This week with Edith, and then last week with Mary. And so I teach music theory at Penn State, but before I was a music theory teacher, I was an organist, an organ professor. And so I know the music that was played. And so before the wedding procession actually begins, the organist plays the Meditation from Thais, which is an opera by Jules Massenet, which is from 1894. So something like that could have been played. And then when Edith comes down the aisle, escorted by her father, the organist plays the trumpet tune by Henry Purcell. So, but then the week previous with Mary, there's Jesus, Joy, and Man's Desiring, which is a transcription of a movement from a Bach cantata. And that piece actually was made popular a little bit later in the 20th century by Dame Myra Hess, who was a great British concert pianist. And then when Mary comes down the aisle, she is accompanied by the music of John Stanley, which is a trumpet voluntary. He was actually blind since the age of 2, and he studied with Maurice Green. So the producers are in step with the types of music that would have been played.
Right.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, we actually hold that thought for who had a better week, but I want to take a phone call from our first caller. We've got Ruth from State College on the line. Hi, Ruth. How are you this evening?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you.
Great. Thanks for joining us. And do you have an opinion on who had a better week this week?
Well, my whole plot thing is that Edith had a bad week, but I think Patrick is coming back as a character.
I think so too.
I think he's coming back, and I was a little worried that Edith was going to marry this other man, but now that didn't turn out happening. So you see, Patrick can come back and possibly hook up with Edith, which will put Robert and Matthew in a real conundrum because they're going to run Downton Abbey together. But if Patrick comes back, he inherits instead of Matthew.
You know, Ruth, I think you could be writing. that sounds great.
Ever since Patrick first came on, I thought Patrick is going to come back because they wouldn't have spent so much time in that one episode with Patrick if he was just going to be tossed aside and never heard from again.
I agree. I
What
think
do we
that's
think
good.
that means for the inheritance? Because now Matthew is saving Downton, so it's essentially not Patrick's money anymore. I don't know how that all
He's
works out.
invested in Downton.
Yes.
Yeah.
There could be 17 seasons.
That's
At
right.
least. That's a good idea. Perhaps we should keep
Here's
this up in the air for
Yeah.
longer.
Well, thank you so much for calling, Ruth, and we hope to hear from you again. Good night.
Thank you.
We've also got Carol from Du Bois on the line. Hi, Carol. How are you?
Hi, glad that you're doing the show. It's very interesting.
Oh, thank you. Well, do you have an opinion? Who had a better week this week?
Oh, who had a better week?
Yeah.
I would say Matthew and Mary.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. And do you think it's because Matthew decided finally to give in and accept the inheritance?
Exactly, and I don't know why he waited so long. Of course, there wouldn't be a show. Do you know how many episodes there are going to be?
There are seven episodes this season.
Okay. And I just can't imagine a show without Matthew, and I keep seeing rumors on the internet that he might not be there next year, and I'm horrified.
Well, we do have a season 4, so
Keep your fingers
We can
crossed.
keep our fingers crossed for that.
I'm hoping.
All right. Well,
my opinion to whoever's writing this.
okay. Thank you and thanks so much, Carol. Okay, and we've also got Victoria from Altoona calling. Hi, Victoria.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Good. Do you have who had a better week this week? Upstairs or downstairs?
Well, I would say it was definitely downstairs, but I have a comment and sort of a comment question.
Okay.
I wondered if other viewers do the same thing I do. When you have the repeat shows throughout the week on PBS, I wondered if people watch it. I've watched it 4 times this past week, the season premiere.
I know.
And I always find something new each time I watch it.
You always get better lines from the Dowager Countess, don't you? You find those little zingers.
She's a hoot.
I know.
And even the past seasons, do you find yourself watching, because those are available out there and on DVD, and they're online, they're streaming, and do you find yourself watching those? I know I do. I think it's one of those things you can just continue to watch. So.
Oh yes, I'll go on my computer and watch it again and again on sometimes, but I do want to order the series. So
It's definitely worth it.
yes.
Well, thank you so much, Victoria, for calling.
Oh, thank you. You have a nice night. Bye-bye.
Thanks, you too. We've also got Cindy from Muncie calling. Hi, Cindy.
Hi.
Thanks for calling tonight. Do you have an opinion? Who had a better week this week?
Downstairs, definitely.
Downstairs, definitely. Yeah, and why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, no one's been jilted downstairs. Everybody still has a job, and they're certainly eating well.
Yes.
But I agree. Ruth's comment about Patrick coming back, that's a real interesting thought. But I don't think he has anything to come back to, because Robert's already lost everything. And it's Matthew that saved his bum and Downton and the whole deal. And I don't see how Patrick could hope to take that away from anybody. And I really don't think he would want to. I mean, I've certainly never been a duke. I don't understand quite how it all works. But
one of our Twitter followers here commented that Ruth is a genius. She wondered why so much time was being spent on Patrick, and that maybe Ruth might be onto something. So I don't know. I think it could go either way. I think there's some convincing arguments on either side of it.
He's going to tire of those Canadian fur traders and come back to Downton.
Well, thanks for calling so much, Cindy, and we hope to hear from you again.
Thank you.
Well, one of the things that was mentioned was watching the series again, and one of the reasons I watch multiple times is to definitely check out Maggie Smith, because when we see those wonderful lines from the Dowager, you know, those quotes, and that leads me to our Dowager on Display segment, because when you get those great Lady Grantham highlights, you know you're going to want to have those to remember. So tonight we've got a great one from Lady Maggie Smith, Dame Maggie Smith, who is now Golden Globe winner, right? So here it is.
I really think you should go to bed. No bride wants to look tired at her wedding. It either means she's anxious or been up to no good.
I won't sleep a wink. Tonight or tomorrow?
Simple vulgarity is no substitute for wit.
Well, you started it.
That was fantastic. That had to be one of the prize moments of this week, and she did also win the Golden Globe this week, so that's fantastic. But what's going on Facebook and Twitter?
Oh my gosh, so we've had so many people tweeting us this evening. It's been great. So general consensus about who had a better week. So we have some folks saying that I hope that Mrs. Hughes and Carson are the next wedding. It's never too late. I am very much with you on that one. I think that'd be fantastic. Queenie says, Edith is getting her just desserts. She made the whole family vulnerable by her letter to Pamuk's father. So very, very true point there. We have some love for Maggie Smith saying great job that she won the Golden Globes. Bring on that leftover wedding food, because it was being dropped off at the Dowager's place, right? And we have, considering how Edith nearly ruined Mary before, it's a tough call on whether or not she deserves a broken heart. So that was pretty rough, though, what happened to her tonight. I don't know. I don't know if anybody deserves that.
Mary's been pretty rotten to Edith, too.
Yeah. Well, let's see what Diana from Twin Rocks thinks. Diana, hi, how are you doing? Diana, are you there?
Yes, I am. Hi.
How are you?
Good.
Who do you think had a better week?
Yeah, I had a question.
Sure.
I wondered if anyone was worried about Bates being in that violent atmosphere in the prison and kind of developing, you know, a mean streak to his personality. And also, I just want to say I'm going to miss Sir Anthony because I think he's so darling. You know, I'm sorry that he and Edith weren't married.
Well, maybe we will see a little bit more. We don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think we are.
But what do you think about the Bates thing? I mean, isn't it like a little frightening?
I think Bates' situation is improving. I mean, because now he's being able to get the letters that were denied him. And then I think he's, you know, it's a violent situation, but yet I think he's winning. He's winning in the long run. And so, in fact, I think Bates and Anna, you know, had a improving week, if I could say that. So.
Yeah, we forget that Bates has done time before. I think he knows how to handle himself, and I think he does what he has to do in order to make sure that that he stays around for Anna for many years to come.
That's right. Thanks so much.
I hope that's the case. It's a little scary what he's going through and what he's having to do to survive.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thank you so much, Diana. We've also got a call from Bill from State College. Hi, Bill. How are you doing?
Fine. I've been watching Downton Abbey for a couple of weeks now, but I was doing some research on the internet and in my Webster's dictionary, and I think I found the proper term for Mr. Carson, and it's major domo, and the literal translation would be chief of house. It would be a head steward or a head servant. And I'd never heard it. I thought domo had to do with the, you know, with the drum major.
Wow.
But it turns out that major you can look it up in the Webster's dictionary, MAJOR-DOMO, and that to me just properly describes Mr. Carson. But I've never heard him referred to in that role in the program.
Oh, that's great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that with us, Bill.
Yeah. Okay.
Have a good night.
Good. Thanks. Bye.
We've also got Joanne from Clarion who's calling. We've only got a couple more minutes left for calls, but we want to hear from Joanne real quick. Hi, Joanne.
Hi.
And who do you think had a better week this week?
Well, I would think definitely downstairs.
Downstairs.
With the whole Edith thing. But my question is, I'm wondering about Bates.
Everybody's wondering about Bates. Yeah.
I'm wondering, he's in life for prison, prison already for life. I'm interested with that entire intrigue. Who's setting him up? What's going on there?
That's the big intrigue right now.
And I think whenever Anna went to go get that information, and you know, there seemed to be some good things that Anna was able to get out of the conversation with that lady, but you know, it's going to be really hard. It's going to be like a his word versus her word, and it's going to be really hard to get him out of prison. And we want free Bates.
I know.
Keeping in mind, she doesn't have a lot of love for Bates. This is what Mrs. Bartletter.
Oh no, not at all.
I know.
Yeah, she was Vera's buddy, so. I don't know that she's going to be very forthcoming with that information.
And isn't very nice to our dear Anna.
No.
I didn't appreciate that at all.
No. I think, Joanne, this is one we're going to have to keep our eyes on.
Apparently, yes.
Well, thanks so much for calling, Joanne.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I think we have time for maybe one more call real quick. So Susie from Westfield, I think we'll take a call real quick from you. Who do you think had a better week this week, Susie?
Well, I'd say upstairs because it looks like Downton Abbey has been saved.
Okay. I think this is our second upstairs vote. All right.
And my question is, if Patrick comes back and he has been able to find some way to save Lord Grantham's money, because he did lose it on the Canadian Railway, and Patrick was in Canada, so maybe he has found some way to save that money and bring it back, and that would put Patrick's money, you know, I mean Matthew's money less in the forefront.
Very nice, Susie.
A lot of people were wondering about Patrick.
Everybody's wondering about Patrick. Thank you so much, Susie, for calling. We're going to have to keep our eyes on that.
Yeah, it's a possibility.
Thank you. Have a good night, Susie.
Thank you.
And Sandy from Crescent, we're going to take your call real quick. Hi, Sandy. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
And do you have an opinion on who had a better week this week?
I think downstairs.
Yeah. Okay. And any reason in particular?
The thing with Daisy and the new and Alfred.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's a blooming romance there.
I think that's really sweet to watch, don't you? And Daisy's really coming into her own here, which has been a lot of fun to see. We're getting a lot of spunk. I think she's getting it from
Yes,
Mrs.
she
Patmore.
is. Yes, she is. She's starting to, give her opinion and speak her mind.
That's right. Well, Sandy, thanks so much for calling. It was great to hear from you, and you have a good night.
Thank you. You too.
Okay. So everybody, it's been episode 2 tonight. There's been a lot going on. Jess has been getting a lot of Facebook posts and Twitter action over there. But real quick, I want to hear some final thoughts on what do you guys hope to see to come on season 3. Vincent?
Well, first of all, free John Bates.
That's right.
Yeah, I have been... I love the series, and I watch it all the time, and I pick up lots of things each time I see it. So, yeah, there are certain themes that, well, John Lund, the composer, wants to not use themes to represent people, but to represent relationships.
Right.
So there are themes that represent Matthew and Mary, and then John Bates and Anna, and especially, I catch these, and then you're supposed to listen to them, and it is in sync with the developing relationship.
Right.
So, yes, that's what I'd like to see is John Bates.
John Bates.
freed.
All right.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay, what do you hope to see?
I think
Real
I'm
quick.
curious to see what's in store for Branson and Sybil, because we haven't heard
Yep.
much from them so far, and I think there's more.
We'll talk
down
about
the
that
line.
We'll talk about that next week, I'm sure.
And our Twitter folks, they want to know what's going to happen with Bates, and they also want to know with Ethel. What's going to happen with Ethel? You've got to feel bad for her kid, but she should have given him up, are our thoughts from our viewers. So
That's great. There's so much more to discuss, and I know next week we'll have a lot more to talk about when we get to episode 3. And thank you so much, Vincent Benitez, for
You're
coming
quite
in
welcome.
tonight, Associate Professor of Music Theory, for being with us tonight. We hope you'll join us next week after episode 3 of Downton Abbey as we continue to see how the story unfolds around the fantastic Crawley family. Thank you so much for spending your Sunday night with your local PBS station, WPSU, bringing you primetime programs like Downton Abbey and now local programs like After Abbey. We want you to continue this conversation. Please visit our website, WPSU.org/AfterAbbey and Facebook.com/AfterAbbeyTV. Until we